If you're someone who loves to scroll and look at houses online, and you think you're at that point where you're ready to buy your first home, but you're just not really sure what that process looks like, how long it takes, how expensive is it truly to buy a house, you're in the right place. In this video, I'm breaking down the simple 8-step process to buying your first home here in Fargo, North Dakota specifically. So next time you're online and you see a house you absolutely fall in love with, you can buy it before someone else does. If you're new to this channel, I'm Sykora. I'm a real estate agent here in Fargo-Moorhead, and I make a lot of videos to give people information on the housing market. But with all these videos, they're all kind of general information for everybody. If you want more specific plans tailored to your specific situation, your price point, your timeline, your type of house you want, all that sort of thing, you can schedule that time through the link in the description below, where we can hop on a Zoom call together, make sure you feel confident with making a move to or from this Fargo-Moorhead area. But this video, we're gonna jump right into it. It's 8 steps to buying your first home here in Fargo, North Dakota. Even before you go out and look at houses, it may be a good idea just to see what you can afford. Housing prices fluctuate a lot, and sometimes they don't tell the whole story based on the list price, but you need to know and reverse engineer it from your monthly payment. So if you want your monthly payment to be around, $2,000, you only wanna look at houses that fall in that monthly payment range of $2,000 or under. Because you don't wanna go look at a house, fall in love with it, love it, and then it turns out you can't afford it. So that's why it's really important to talk to a lender. Also, there's a million different loan programs out there for people, FHA, VA, conventional, first-time homebuyer programs that can get people into houses for either as little down as possible, bringing zero cash to the table. I've had people before that they've literally brought $0 to the closing table because of the loan program they were in. Now, this isn't for everybody, and not everybody qualifies for it, but some people do, and that's why it's important to talk to a lender. Make sure you know what you qualify for, how it works for you, and how you can get into a house the most affordable and comfortable way possible. So that's why it's always important to talk to a lender first up. Make sure you get pre-qualified or pre-approved, ready to go. So when you do find a house, you don't have to wait for that to happen where someone else can sneak in and grab that house from right under you. So that's the first step, getting pre-approved and talking to a lender. Next up is you need to check out the market for the house you're looking for. You just need to get a feel of what's out there. Obviously, looking online is great. There's a million different houses online, and every single person I've ever talked to always starts their home search online. But going out to houses is good too, because you never know the neighborhoods. You never know the size difference between the pictures and the photos, or the quality difference, or what the house just feels like. So going out with tours with your real estate agent, going to open houses, that sort of thing can be really good just to give you a feel of what's out there per price range. Now, our price range is significantly different in so many different areas of Fargo. A house that's 2,000 square feet, 3 beds, 2 baths, has a different price point, whether it's in Horace, whether it's in North Fargo, or whether it's in Moorhead. So that's why it's really important to know what you're looking for in the market, to have a realtor that knows what the market does and what different price points are at depending on location, and to know how much farther your money goes in some areas compared to other areas, and the pros and cons of each. So that's why it's really important to make sure you go out there and kind of check out the market. You talk to a realtor that knows those different areas of the market to help narrow them down for you. Because if you look at it from one big picture, you can see, well, there's 700 houses for sale, in the Fargo-Moorhead area, but how am I supposed to narrow that down? So this is just narrowing it down. Doesn't mean you have to buy the first house you look at. Doesn't mean you have to only look at 1 or 2 houses before you choose one. Make sure you just get a feel of what's out there. You know the market, and you have a realtor that knows the market too, so they can tell you whether it's a good deal, bad deal, or priced right, that sort of thing. Now, once you kind of get to that point, you kind of have a little bit of an idea of what you want. You're pre-approved, you're ready to go. That's when you can actually get out there and start home shopping, going on some house tours. This is step number 3, where you go out and actually look at houses. So this part is really important for a couple of reasons. Again, same as before, you want to see what the house looks like, because pictures don't really tell the whole story. Because if there's a problem with the house, they're probably not going to post a picture of the house with that problem online. So you want to see that. Obviously, you want your realtor to be able to point out problems for you, things that are cost you money. That's always my thing, is when I'm looking through houses with you as my client, I want to point out the things that are going to cost you money, or they're going to be problems down the line. And I want you to look at the house of like, oh, I'm going to put a couch in this corner, I'm going to put stuff in this corner, or whatever, to envision yourself living there. Because the pros are going to jump out right to you right when you walk in. It's my job to point out the cons to make sure you're comfortable with buying that house. But you're also protected through the inspection, which is coming up later in step number 5. But you want to go out and look at homes, tour homes, make sure you find one you like. So that's that next step, is to start going out and touring homes. Now next, let's say you find a house, you went and toured like 5 or 6 houses on a weekend. You found one you love. you're ready to write an offer, but you just don't really know how to go from there. That's where we hop into the next step, which is step number 4, which is actually writing an offer on a house. Now there's a million different situations that happen with writing an offer of, do I offer this price? Do I offer low? Do I offer high? What's the situation? But it's all dependent on the situation. So here I'll give you 2 easy examples. Let's say one house you looked at this weekend, it was on the market one day. It was listed on Friday, you looked at it on Saturday. There was people at the house looking to show it before and after you. They had 10 showings over the weekend. Then a couple of those people were interested and they have 3 offers on that house one day on the market. Versus this other house that was on the market for 90 days. There was 0 showings that weekend other than your showing. Which house do you think you have to offer a stronger offer on to be able to get that house? It's going to be that first house that has multiple offers and a ton of showings on the first weekend of the market. So that's what the negotiating is. You got to know, obviously situational. Has the house been on the market for a long time? What have other people been saying about the house? That sort of thing. And a lot of that is what a real estate agent is going to guide you to. They're not going to tell you a specific price to offer at, but they're going to kind of put your mind in the right spot so you know where to offer. You know, there's a ton of different situations with that. Also, it's like, do you want closing costs covered? Because you can actually ask the seller to cover part of your closing costs. Closing costs is a separate cost with buying a house that is different than your down payment. Usually it's around 3 to 5% of the home purchase price, but you can ask the sellers to cover it. Do you want to have inspections in your offer? 99% of the time you do. Appraisals, what's your financing like? That sort of thing. There's a million different things in that offer that matter to the sellers. It's all situational when writing offers, and that's what a real estate agent is there to help you do. But that's that point. Once you see a house you like, you write an offer. Now from the point where you write an offer to when you actually close on the house is which when you get the keys, can range from like 30 to 45 to 90 days depending on the situation, just for time for that inspection to happen, that appraisal to happen. This can obviously be way quicker. You can close on a house in 2 weeks if you're paying cash and not doing an inspection. But most of the time it's going to have inspection contingency, you're going to have appraisal contingency, and then you're going to have closing. I'm going to talk about all those a little bit deeper later in this video, but those are kind of the 3 negotiating points with the offer, and it's around 30 to 45 days from when you write an offer, get it accepted, to close date. Now, for when you're looking at homes, the time frame is really open. Some people have bought the first house they looked at. Some people will look at houses for 3 years before they find one. So it's really open to you and dependent on your own situation. And you don't want to have someone there who's going to pressure you and make sure you want to buy a house now. You want someone there who's open for you just to help you through that process, which is what a realtor should be doing. So next, after, let's say you write an offer, they accept the offer right away. They can either decline it, accept it, or counter. But let's say in this situation, they just accept your offer. Next up, you're going to have your earnest money deposited. So what earnest money is it's usually around 1% of the purchase price. It's going to be held in a trust account or at a brokerage. This is just showing the sellers that you're serious about the property. But let's say, okay, you deposit this earnest money of 1%, but then during the inspection, you find out the basement's messed up. It's going to take around $70,000 to fix the basement. The sellers don't want to do that work. You don't want to do that work, and you don't really want to buy the house anymore. You get that earnest money back. That's what happens with earnest money is you have contingencies that protect that earnest money. Now, even let's say you get to a week before closing, then all of a sudden you lose your job because of something happened. You lose your job. You still get that earnest money back because it's protected through the financing contingency. So you're always protected through contingencies, but let's say, you come to a decision, you're like, shoot, I really don't want to buy this house anymore. I found this other house I love more, but I really want to buy this other house and I don't want to buy this one. In a situation like that where you cancel the contract as a buyer, that is where the seller gets to keep that earnest money. So the earnest money is just deposited, showing the seller you're serious. It's credited to you at closing. So let's say your closing costs, cash to close is around $10,000. If earnest money is $2,000, you only have to bring $8,000 to the closing table after that earnest money is deposited. So that's that first step. When an offer is accepted, part of step number 5, which is that inspection contingency. So it's always recommended to have an inspection. Obviously, situations vary. It's very situational, and that's why this is just a brief overview. If you want more information on your specific buying situation, just reach out to me through all my contact information in the description below. But an inspection contingency is really important because you don't know what problems are wrong with the house. Obviously, your realtor will be able to point out a couple, but they don't know everything. I'm not the smartest in the world, but you want to have an inspection done. Inspection is going to take 2.5 to 3 hours of an inspector looking through the house, looking at everything. All the appliances, all the cracks in the walls, all the HVAC systems. They're going to be looking at everything. Then through that inspection, you're going to get a report back from the inspector. This is a report you'll look through as a home buyer to determine, hey, is this still a house I'm interested in? We see all the problems. The inspector is pointing out every single little thing because that's what their job is. So do you still want to buy this house? Can we negotiate problems? A lot of times you can negotiate. So let's say you find an inspection, shoot, the sump pump is broken in the downstairs. You can say, hey, we're still interested in buying this house, but the sellers, you guys got to fix this sump pump. The sellers can obviously say yes, they can say no, or they can say whatever, they can counter. So they're protected through that inspection contingency, and you can renegotiate depending on the results of that inspection. So that's what the inspection is. It's really important. Again, your earnest money is always protected through inspection if you write up the contract correctly. So that's the first of the two contingencies on most offers, is that inspection. Next up, let's say you have your offer accepted, earnest money deposited, you get through that inspection contingency, you applied for your loan fully after your pre-approval. Next up, and step number 6, is the appraisal contingency. So what appraisal is where a third party that does not work with the buyers or the sellers, that's hired out from your bank or your lender, will come and look at the property to give it its market value. Now the reason for this is the bank or your lender does not want to give a loan for more money than the house is worth. Because in worst case scenario, foreclosure, then they have to resell this property for more than it's worth, that sort of thing. So it's just not something you want to do. So that's what an appraisal is. Houses can come back at a perfectly appraised value. You're good to go. They can come back high, they can come back low. In the situation where they do come back low, that would be another point of renegotiation you have as a buyer with the sellers to say, hey, we still love this house. We're willing to bring another $2,000 cash to cover that appraisal gap. Now, the other thing with appraisals is appraisals are different depending on your financing type. So the conventional appraisal and the VA appraisal are very different. VA appraisals are a little bit more strict. FHA appraisals are a little bit more strict. Conventional appraisals are a little bit more loose, but it's all dependent on the situation again. And it's the same if you're in a multiple offer situation. If you have the option to go FHA or conventional, conventional is going to be stronger in the eyes of the seller. So that's what I mean with it's all situational. There's a million different things that can happen within a real estate transaction. You just need to approach it the right way. Make sure you have a realtor that knows what they're talking about, knows what they're doing, and is on your side during that process when you're buying your first home here in Fargo, North Dakota. So let's say you got through all those steps, offer accepted, earnest money deposited, inspection period done, no issues. Appraisal, all good, it appraises for value. Now what? At this point, you're gonna be pretty close to closing, sometimes a week or a couple days out. A title company is gonna do the title search. They're just gonna make sure, hey, the sellers are able to sell the property, they own the property, there's no liens on the property, that sort of thing. Then you, the day before closing, you're gonna do something called a final walkthrough. This is where you're just gonna go back to the house one last time before you sign the papers and close on the house to make sure there's no issues with the house that weren't there before. So let's say you go to the final walkthrough, but then the water heater broke, but it was working during your inspection. So things like this, you just want to make sure you know what you're buying, because once you sign those papers, the house is yours. You can't go back to the sellers and ask for more. You get the house for what it is after you sign at the closing table. So that's why it's important to do a final walkthrough. Make sure everything's in the same condition, everything works, all the appliances work, nothing's wrong with the house, they didn't, tear out a floor, that sort of thing. So the final walkthrough is the most important step right before closing, and that brings us to step number 8, which is closing on your house. So this is where you'll go to the title company or real estate office or wherever you have a closing. You're gonna sign your papers for about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how many you got or the loan program you're at. Then after that, the keys are yours, the house is yours, and you get to start making your monthly mortgage payments. One thing to note with your mortgage payments, if you close after the 3rd of the month on a house, your first mortgage payment isn't gonna be for 2 months. So let's say it's June 4th, you close on a house. Your first mortgage payment isn't gonna be due until August 15th. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility, especially with people who are renting, depending on when their lease is up and that sort of thing, to move into a house. Now with that though, you do pay interest during that time when you are not paying mortgage payments on your house for those first 2 months. But something to keep in mind, gives you flexibility when you're buying a house. So that was the last step, closing step. You get your keys, you get to move in, you get to start the process if you're gonna do some renovations, that sort of thing. And that's the 8-step process to buying a house here in Fargo, North Dakota. Now again, I said it before probably 2 or 3 times, but this is just a general overview. If you want a more specific strategy tailored to your situation, so you know what to do for your price point, for what type of house you're looking for all that sort of thing, you can reach out to me through all my contact information in the description below. Thanks for watching this video.